It is always a pleasure having you on Viewpoint on DBS Television, 6:30 p.m. to 7 p.m. Ladies and gentlemen, good evening and thank you for joining us. Tonight, we are going to be looking at the African Cup of Nations and its impact on the economy of Cameroon. That is our main topic of discussion. Still honored to have an economist with us, Deep Akum Deep and Ipie Nochavi. Always a pleasure. Akum Deep, you're welcome.
Good evening. Good evening, Vanessa.
Thank you for taking our time and coming again.
Pleasure is mine, and I want to greet all the viewers back home and to encourage them keep watching Viewpoint.
Keep watching Viewpoint. Ipie Noch, our regular consultant.
Good evening.
Good evening and welcome.
Thank you.
We'll go directly into a topic of discussion, Afcon and its impact on the economy. The game, actually, the competition is expected to generate over 35 million US dollars revenue for Africa's governing football body, CAF. But then, how much is it expected to generate for Cameroon, of what impact, of what importance, or what advantage? It's a disadvantage to Cameroon because when talking of impact, probably I don't know what our guests are having in mind. Is it of positive or negative impact? Akum Deep, I'll begin with you.
Yes, Vanessa, I will first of all appreciate the effort of the government of Cameroon in its organization of this competition. It has long been our dream to have this game played in our own country, in our own backyard. So first of all, congratulations to the organizing committee, congratulations to the economy of Cameroon, and congratulations to Africa. And I want to say that competitions of this nature are important for the growth of an economy, but there, we look at in the eyes of an economist, nothing goes without a cost, without a consequence. So though we have Afcon, we are all happy, but at the end of the day, we have a price to pay. And that price will go with aspects, social, economic, financial. If I will start with what we can benefit, so I'll look at it in the two sides of the same coin. Afcon is a blessing, is a mixed blessing to Cameroon. Mixed blessing because it comes with salt and sugar. Yes.
But it all tastes a little bit sweet.
Yes.
If you say salt and sugar and bitter leaf, then they will understand.
No, salt and sugar.
It comes with salt. Okay.
So realize that the sugary part of it is that it brings a lot of happiness. Football is a unifying game. It calms down the tension we have in the country. And if you look around, recently people always carry smiles on their faces. Mm-hmm. We no longer see our troubles we always have. And I think with this 1 month, people will be a bit relieved, and we've forgotten about our poverty state, our conflicts and the rest. Football has been the main topic of the month. So that's the first advantage. It has brought some calmness in the country.
Some unity, some
and
peace.
Some unity mm-hmm. and peace. Relative
peace.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Then the second aspect is that you will also improve the GDP of Cameroon. Our gross domestic product will improve drastically. We expect that this year we'll have an improvement, and I can then see why the president of Cameroon, during his end of year speech, was estimating an increase in GDP, because he already foresaw that with this coming of Afcon, production, certain sectors will be booming, and that will bring in money to the state. And that will even go in line. I see why the government introduced electronic transfer tax, because people are making a lot of transactions within this period of Afcon. We have a lot of visitors, and those visitors need to make a lot of transfer, and that's how the government will also reap out enough benefits. Not only that, if you look at the hospitality business, the hotels, hotels,
I mean, in terms of infrastructure, because government spend a
restaurants,
lot in putting in place those
good restaurants.
infrastructures.
I'm still coming to that. So if you look at the business in general, there is a step up in business in general recently due to Afcon, and that will also increase the household's revenue. Then you have the infrastructural outlook of Cameroon. Not only the stadiums, we have our roads. You realize that this Afcon has made some of the roads have been patched off, the potholes closed. Some of today in Douala, we have some of the quarters have been tarred thanks to Afcon. When you go around, for example, go around Omispo, around, you see that most of the quarters have been arranged.
I think even sanitation has improved.
Sanitation has improved. The town, there is a bit of order in town. So infrastructural outlook, it has made Douala to look like a city, really, because if you pass around Dokoti, you will not believe that as in Dokoti, we always know it's especially in the match day, places are well organized. So infrastructural wise, Afcon has contributed to Cameroon. And we also look at a lot of social benefits, interaction, and also the country, the image, the profile of Cameroon has improved. There are a lot of people who had negative impression about Cameroon, but coming to Cameroon with what they're seeing, people have, I think, a different mindset, a different ideology. So it has given Cameroon a good profile. But looking at the negative aspects,
I think let us stay in the positive aspect. We'll take a negative aspect later on. Ipia Chavi, in your point of view, how has Afcon helped? How is it so far helping our economy in Cameroon?
First, when you say we should, so it means that
just give the positive
aspects. Anyway,
no, you should have. It can't just be negative.
No. Anyway,
so I want us to remain in this good mood before we go to get the bad side of it.
Okay. Okay. Anyway, Mr. Ndip spoke of the fact that people are happy. I would term it health benefits. Because when you are joyful, where it feels like you're in good health, that's the first thing, and that's one very important impact that it has had, on the economy of Cameroon, because many people, generally in the world, we have about 5 billion football lovers. So you can imagine what football is like. It's important to understand that, because football is a game that brings people together. Football, I always say that football is the only game that can make you drink with your enemy when you're supporting the same team, because you forget that it's your enemy. You guys sit together and even hug, and that's what football is. It's a game that brings people together, creates a lot of joy, and then the atmosphere is different, and that's what it's doing. It's helping people relieve them from their stress. People feel happy on game days, and it's remarkable. Also, in terms of economic benefits, yes, there has been an slightly improved in structural development, because some hotels have improved the quality of their services, because they don't know who will be lodging in their hotel or not. They don't want to create a negative impact, and that is good for an economy, because it increases first of all the reputation that we have. Also, in terms of business, new opportunities have come up. If you look at, for example, recently, you'll realize that we have close to 5 new how do you call it, cab service companies in Cameroon. I mean, like Nigeria or South Africa or Egypt, for example, might not want to necessarily stop by the roadside like you and I and stop a bike or stop a taxi. You might want to sit in his hotel room and order for a ride, and that's something he has done. So business has improved, apart from the local business in itself that has improved, because there are a lot of sales, a lot of new things are being sold. Business people are getting into new consumable products and so on, and then they are benefiting. The other services generally, have developed because of the coming of the Afcon, and this in itself is a whole impact on the economy. There are other impacts that we will see after the Afcon, still because of the Afcon. For example, when players, for example, get to benefit from, for example, let's talk about players in Cameroon. When players get to benefit from the games, in terms, I'm not talking about benefit, I'm talking about financial benefits. What they gain in terms of revenue might have an impact on the economy. They might lend someone a capital who will start a business. They might assist a family member who will start another business. And all of this is impacts of the Afcon, because if that player was not called for the Afcon or didn't make that, it's true that they're professional players, but not all of them are at that level where they already have a lot. Some of them, yes, we know that they are already at a level where they don't really need what they get, or it's just an addition. The others too, this will be like, as we always say, a blow for them, you know, the start of their career, and they could use it to have an impact on
Maybe assist local football clubs.
Exactly, exactly. So in terms of benefits and the goods that it's doing, yes, that's what it's doing. We already have, also, the Afcon has also put us, specifically in terms of football, on a different ladder in front of the world. Right now, we have seven World Cup standard stadiums in Cameroon. It's not given to anybody. 7. You need 10 to host a World Cup. We have 7.
So we need 3 to
So that's what it means. It's true we might not be considered for hosting a World Cup because of other things that are taken into consideration, infrastructural development, especially when the World Cup hosting is taken into consideration. But when we talk of stadiums, right now we have 7 World Cup stadiums. All of this, well, if we were not given the opportunity to host Afcon, it wouldn't have been possible. The government wouldn't have put in the efforts that they put to be able to get the stadium. So we have 7 World Cup standard stadiums in Cameroon. For a small country like Cameroon that has all the problems that it has, it's a big plus.
A big plus. Akomtib, let's go therefore to find out some of the I won't actually put it negative, some of the setbacks of Afcon in our country. How has it affected other sectors?
Yes, Vanessa, like I said earlier, if you look at it from the standpoint of an economist who look at it, when you're hosting an event like this, you spend a lot of money to host, and we know that those expenditures come from loans, and we'll have to pay back the loans. You will see some economists will look at it in a different way, that if Cameroon is spending this amount of money, these billions, to prepare and host an event, if that billions to be turned around and invest it in other sectors like education, like health.
I don't know what is happening that we can't have Mr. Nzip on our screens, but permit me let APN Notch take the floor. Meanwhile, with in collaboration with the producer, we'll get back to you. APN Notch of you, while you're still on screen, maybe we could take out some of the setbacks of Afcon.
There are a lot of setbacks because the budget that has been put into place is good. Like I just praised the level of stadiums that we have. But this budget for a country like Cameroon is huge. You know, it's huge budget to put in football. To be honest with you, Vanessa,
Cameroon has invested heavily a lot.
Yes, with respect to football, some people who might disagree with me, but I can prove them wrong. Football has never developed any country, and it will not develop now. I will tell you that even one of the most powerful, because we have 2 international football bodies. We have FIFA, we have UEFA. Even UEFA right now is still trying to find ways to see how in Europe, the 55 local national football associations that exist, how they can impact their own economy. So apart from what the players that are involved in this game can have as impact on their countries, maybe because they might start building hotels, they might build restaurants, they might create businesses, they might build companies. The game in itself and its activity, I loved your introduction where you said CAF is supposed to get this from this
They're
sport.
expected to
How
generate
much
that amount.
is Cameroon government expected to have? I love that part because that's what people don't understand. Football has never developed, gotten the country right up there, and it will not now. I'm telling you, even in Europe, even UEFA is finding ways to create programs that they will inject, that will help promote and help local federations and associations existing in different countries to be able to have more impact. Right now, analyzing and assessing the impact of the game on the economy and the country itself is a complex situation. It's difficult and it's practically impossible. So, honestly, it's not a good thing, because when you look at the budget, I don't have exact figures in my head, but you can ask yourself, if this budget was put into different activities, into education, into this, into that, do you think it would have taken us really, really, really good steps ahead of where we are right now? I think yes. You see, but it's not.
Anyway, you know that all this happened due to some malpractices with the budget that was allocated for the construction of some stadiums. So now the government had to double their effort in order to make sure that they meet up with the requirements of CAF.
Even if there were no malpractices and the initial budget was respected, I'm telling you that is so much money for a country like Cameroon. A country like Cameroon, I just praise the fact that we have 7 stadiums. And I'm condemning the same fact that we have 7 stadiums. To have this number of stadiums with these standards and have an economy where we have regions where people are suffering and people are not stable and people are hungry. We have 70%, like we said sometimes in a previous debate, 70% of people in rural areas poor without nothing. It's a problem.
Price hike of basic commodities as well.
Yes, it's a problem. And can you imagine that? Unfortunately, it's when Mr. Andy started talking, unfortunately, we we're able to have his screen. I'm going to borrow his point. He spoke of, for example, electronic tax that was introduced as a result of transactions that they understood that will double during this period. Now, just look at from the announcement from the aroma of Afcon's presence, everything began to increase in the markets. A liter of oil, how do they call it?
Vegetable oil?
Vegetable oil became, it's vegetable oil, but the local one they usually call VRAC. Yes. A liter went to what's that? 1.6.
It went from 1.4 to 1.6, and now
no, it was 1.8. 1.8, yes, 1.8, because half liter was about 900, and then
it left from 1.4 to 1.6, and now 2,000 francs.
Good, a liter, and then 1.5, you are about 2.5. What's that? A bucket of Gary? You don't understand. So everything became automatically expensive. Is that good or is bad? It's bad because the local population will suffer. Someone who has his money doesn't have a problem. He goes to the market. He buys without even looking at how much everything costs. But some of us who are still struggling to eat, we have problems because when you're working on a small budget and the small budget cannot even offer you a meal, it becomes a problem. And all of this is because we have Afcon and so on coming on.
Mr. Deep, you had the floor. First of all, let us look at the negative impact of Afcon.
Yes, like I started earlier, that we have to pay back these loans that we've taken to build our beautiful stadiums, and it is a cost. It is a cost, and it's a real burden. And I would say that from our point of view as economists, we'll look at hosting such an event as a deadweight debt, because it's an investment that cannot finance itself, because whatever will come in as benefit might not pay off the expenditures to prepare for the event. It's just like you take a loan to celebrate a very big marriage, and you don't expect that whatever will come in from the marriage ceremony can finance itself. So equally, we'll have to look for money elsewhere to give back those loans. That's the first a consequence of this event that we are hosting. Secondly, we look at some will say that it will affect. Already now there have been a change in the school programs for school children. Close at 1 o'clock, it will have an impact. But looking at it, though it will, it's obvious because the event is right here with us. But I will also say that even if some will argue that even if Cameroon was not hosting, the school's children will still follow the Afcon, even if it is in another country. But to me, I see to it that it's a consequence. It's going to impact the performance of students going in for official exams. There is clear. Looking at another aspect also.
Yeah, just talking about it, that is a topic that we had, I think, 2 days back.
Good. So you have an impact on students who are going in for official exams. And if you look at it also on the social aspect, we have about 24 different countries, or 23 different countries, and others were coming from other countries, bringing in their culture, bringing in their way of life, bringing in other aspects. So there is that interchange of culture. And when there is that interchange of culture, we can learn good culture, we can learn bad culture. So there is also an effect on that aspect. With the COVID-19 also, which has been a huge challenge recently, we try to see how the CAF and the committee, they are trying to manage it, but
but everything is good news because so far the Ministry of Public Health has not brought out any statistics.
Good, but we cannot close our eyes because the COVID-19 is still there. So though they are trying to manage the event properly, but that's the setback.
Are they managing or they are trying to manage? They are managing.
Good. They are doing. Yes, they are managing the event properly.
Yes. Well, let's
so
say
we hope that COVID-19 might not come because it is one of the setbacks they should take into consideration.
We're expecting that as of now, the Ministry of Public Health will tell us that with the coming in of foreigners, the number of COVID-19 cases have increased.
What verification program has been put into place, apart from the fact that before you go to the stadium, you need to have been vaccinated?
No, before they come in, they've been vaccinated. And they are being
so if somebody gets infected, you are talking about footballers. You are talking about those playing.
Even foreigners.
Yeah,
right.
Even the foreigners.
Let me finish. Yeah. So that COVID-19 to me is one aspect that which might be a setback, which the government needs to really see how to do with it, because it might, after the game, we don't know what can happen.
What can happen?
So those are the outcomes of. But once more, I would like to congratulate the federation, the government, and all the committees in charge of the organization of Afcon. They are doing a great job. We are proud of them.
We continue to ask Cameroonians to protect themselves wherever they are. Do regular washing of hands or sanitize. Put on your face mask if you're not traveling. Before we go,
I want to say that the measures that have been put in place for the COVID-19, I agree with what you guys have said, but I also disagree in short 1 minute, because the foreigners have been checked in, supporters like footballers, but when tests have been done here, those who were already in, some are positive. How are they positive? When before they came, they were negative. Everyone was checked and everyone was negative. So how did they become positive? It's just to say that it's not what the measures that are put in place, or the fact that a communique has not yet been released doesn't mean that it's safe or it's good, because the supporters are not living with the players and they are out. So what if they get infected? Because supporters are not verified every day. So what if they get infected and in the course of mingling and it's spreading? So I think that it's still a risk, but that's not a problem. It's a good thing, like Mr. Ndip said at the beginning of this very debate. It's a privilege for us to host this competition, and we are happy. I'm a football fan, so I might criticize, but I'm very happy. On football days, I don't go out, I don't do anything. So